everyone. My name is Iveta Astorga, and I will be your moderator tonight. Welcome, everyone, to today's session. I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker, Alma Arzate, a powerhouse in the global supply chain and operation world. Tonight's topic is networking strategy with Alma Arzate. And you already know the rules. Please mute your microphone, queue a session in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. Be respectful with others and yourself. And remember that this session is going to be recorded. And we will share the link with you. About Alma. Alma Arzate is a global...
I don't think I need to read the whole thing, so...
Yes, why not?
No, that's okay. We want to get more time for the presentation, even like skip it, and the attendees can read it later.
Let me say some highlights that I think are important because the audience they want to know a little bit more about you. So you have an extensive experience in the global supply chain and operations. You are considered a leader in the community. And actually, or currently, you are a senior director, global supply chain logistics at Apotex. And you are leading a team of over 150 supply professionals. You have a lot of recognitions, and our audience, they can read it here, or you will have access to more information about Alma Arzate, who is on LinkedIn as well. And I need to say that you are from Ciudad Juárez, proudly Mexican, and you relocated with your family in Canada in 2007. You live here in the GTA with your husband over 25 years, and you have 3 children, 15, 18, and 44 years. So, it's an impressive curricula. And welcome, Alma. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Yvette. It's always a bit uncomfortable when they're reading your whole story. I just want to get to the content. Okay. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you, Citlali and Carlos and Yvette for the invitation. I think it's like a yearly tradition, me speaking to the cohort of mentees. So it's really my pleasure to be here. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let me just go to the presentation and hopefully you can see it. That's hurdle number 1. Yvette, can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, so why don't we get started? The presentation is broken into 3 different sections. So I'm going to stop at the end of every section. You're going to see it because it's very colorful. So you're going to see, and I'll signal you when that section of the presentation is over. So I'm going to ask Yvette if there's any questions. So please, throughout the presentation, feel free to start adding your questions to the chat, right? So we can make the most of our time. Don't wait until it's like, okay, any questions? Although if there's a raised soul that want to ask the question live, it's really our pleasure to take it, okay? So without further ado, let's get started. And one of the reasons I didn't want even to spend too much time into it is I wanted to talk about my bio and my pathways. So some professional background. I've been part of many industries: publishing, electronics, automotive, medical devices back in Mexico, and here in Canada, consumer packaged goods and the generics pharmaceutical industry. So highly transferable skills that I have acquired in supply chain, and all of them, like I'm able to port, from industry to industry. So far, these are like some idea, on the background of the roles that I have had. A lot of them in Mexico, 10 roles in Mexico, roles of progressive responsibility. And then in Canada, I'm on my 19th role. Although as you saw, there were only 6 companies, but within the companies, I have always seek some mobility, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next part of the presentation. But just a little bit of about myself, and the many roles. I usually say I have had all the roles under the supply chain umbrella. Like whatever role, yeah, throw me in, saying yes and figuring it out as I go along. As you can see from a little bit of that progression, the progression is more like instead of linear, it has been a more like a lattice pathway when, I've been moving from like industry to industry, department to department, and it's not like what got me here. It wasn't really staying within one lane, but actually going back and forth. Okay. So the topic that we're going to talk about today is the power of networking. And the power of networking, I know, like it's going to be like, why? What is this networking thing? Why do I need to network? Some of you, because of your mentee status, maybe I'm making the assumption because my familiarity with the mentoring program from Hispanotech is a very storied program, very successful program that Carlos and the Clali and the team have put together. And year after year, they support so many new Canadians, new arrival to Canada. And this is something, honestly, that maybe we do it back in our countries, but it's not really to the extent that happens here in Canada. Therefore, I'm being asked to speak on the topic, right? So how do people feel about networking? And I have heard it all. It's like, oh my gosh, like I can't stand that, it's so fake. And I have to feel that I'm interested when I'm not. I'm an introvert, I cannot do it. I'm like, my the cat ate my tongue, and I don't like, I'm talking, I don't even know what to say when I'm standing in front of a stranger. And I have heard it all, believe me. But the good news is, once you expand your perspective and better define your objectives, I'm going to venture that it's going to be possible for you to enjoy networking. And believe me, I'm not saying love networking. At the bare minimum, you will be able to enjoy it and not be, if I should say so myself, terrified of networking. Okay, so if at least you can enjoy yourself, I'm gonna give myself a check mark there. Okay, so let's have an open mind, right? So networking, we shouldn't do networking when we have a need. Okay, so like we shouldn't be calling on someone when we need a favor, right? So we cannot be networking when you want to grow your career or your business, right? So instead of knocking at people's door when we need something, we need to be more proactive. We need to focus on establishing that long-term relationship with other people, right? So we're going to approach networking in the same way you will nurture a friendship. And I know, believe me, I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn when people that I have no familiarity with, I don't know them, and they're asking me for things. And to be honest, like it's really hard for me to say yes. One, my time is limited, but two, I don't even know the person. But I have received messages of people that I have worked with in the past, people that I have met in multiple meetings from different supply chain associations I'm part of. I'm always happy to accommodate, right? Because that person and I have a relationship, and that person is leveraging the relationship they have with me to allow to ask me to say yes to something or do something for them. And I'm always happy to, if time allows, to say yes, right? But I'm not going to say yes if I don't know you. So that's basically the point. We're going to be using the power of human relationships to build mutually beneficial relationships. Okay, so the keyword here, maybe I should underline, is mutually beneficial. Okay, so both parties are going to walk away feeling that they're getting something. And you might find yourself thinking, what do I have to offer to a person? Don't minimize the value that you bring into this relationship, right? So, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So we need to think about the needs of other people rather than just pursuing our own agenda. And that's basically what I think is going to make the shift on you to say, Well, how can I leverage other people? No. How can I establish a relationship with other people? And then, we can harvest what we saw. Okay. Networking, and I love this quote, is more about farming than it is about hunting. So we're not here in the business to hunt other people, right? We're gonna be farming, and we're gonna be cultivating these relationships. Okay. And why do I need to network? And no, like we talked about the, like, your feelings about networking, some of your feelings about networking. I know, like, you can put in the chat box if you want, like, what your true feelings are. Hopefully by the end of by the end of this hour it will be a little different. But the need to network, especially here in Canada. When I came to Canada 17 years ago, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know a person. I came because I wanted to relocate my family from a situation we had in my hometown of Juarez, Mexico. And it was a difficult situation. The crime was on the rise. And I'm like, okay, you know what? We need to do something. We went through the whole permanent residency application back then, paper, lots of copies, lots of certifications. I wish there was an electronic system back then, but there wasn't. It was a lot of paper. And then 4 years later, finally, we got the permanent residency. We didn't know a single person. And this is how we came, right? But when you come to a new country, it's really important to increase the number of people that know you, and that can assist you, right? So that means that you can turn to more people for help, for advice. The people that you get to know can keep you in mind, right? Sometimes recruiters call me, and then it's like, Alma, I know you might not be looking for a job, but and this is like a lower level, like a manager level. But do you know of someone that might be looking for this opportunity? I'm always happy to refer people. It's like, okay, you know what? Actually, I work with this person, and I think that person could be fantastic, and I know that person happens to be looking for a job because that person contacted me and asked me to keep him posted. Therefore, you have an advocate actually looking out for you. Now, when you start your career, or move a new country, as I said, you're less connected. So the more champions that have you on the radar screen, the better, right? So that's going to be very, very critical. You can meet influential people in your field, learn about someone's career, and adapt some of their tips and tricks. So in the supply chain, there's actually a real person called Daniel Stanton, as his name is Daniel, and he goes by Mr. Supply Chain. All he does is supply chain. He's professor at a very prestigious U.S. university, and he has about 20 LinkedIn learning courses. And he has like a book. He published a book called Supply Chain for Dummies. One of those like yellow, cover books that we see everywhere is that for dummies. So, I'm like, that's a very influential person in my field. I would like to get to know Daniel. So I wrote to him, and it's like, will you be open to connect and join our networks? And I'm also in supply chain and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, man, I'd love to connect with you. And so, like, never say that, never believe that people will be like, no, 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 I don't want to connect. So if you don't put yourself out there, believe me, like, I mean, nothing is going to happen, right? So now we're connected, and we're working on some projects together. So, and this is a very good one. And this is when you already have a job, where you already landed a role, right? And I know you want to be talking about that a little later in the program, but people that make an effort to improve their networks are more likely to be promoted to those who didn't, because honestly, who are you? What do you stand for? And networking, remember, it's not just outside the company, it's within the company. It's whoever knows you, and then you're getting, like, people that can advocate for you, people that can sponsor you, people that can mentor you within your company. So it's really important to get out of your shell and expand your network, right? And then there's some satisfaction about networking, that you exchange your ideas, you exchange your knowledge, and you contribute something to others. You add value to other people. Basically, the principle of reciprocity. Okay. Um, 85% of positions are filled through personal and professional connections. And this is based on a very recent LinkedIn survey. So it's very important that we strengthen our personal and professional connections, not when we need it, but actually when we don't need them. That's the time when we are not oppressed, when we are established. It's like, once you land and you get your roles, etc. Please take a few minutes to cultivate your connections. Okay. Now, before you start within the networking, you need to know thyself, right? So what do you do, why, for whom, what makes you special, some reflection, what are you looking for? If people come knocking on my door, right, like I want to know what they need from me. Do they need career advice? Do they need me to do something for them? Do they need me to introduce them to someone else, right? So be like, what are you looking for from that particular person? And this is like, honestly, I know it sounds common sense, I know it sounds common, but sometimes the common sense is lacking. So I have introduced people to other people, and when I follow up with the person, it's like, okay, have you actually reached out to so and so? No, I haven't, and I've been too busy and life happens. That makes me feel bad because I'm actually taking time of my day, which is at a premium. I'm knocking on someone else's door, trying to broker an introduction. So please follow through quickly if someone is kind enough to broker an introduction. And then stay connected, right? The way you stay connected is, oh, you know what, actually I was reading the New York Times, and I saw this article, and actually it reminded me of you because a conversation you and I had about this topic. So here's the link if you want to read it, right? People post on social media, and a professional platform, of course, is LinkedIn. So if you see one of your connections posting and this comment, it's like, oh, that's very thoughtful, thank you for sharing, right? I have actually commented on some people's posts, and that led to actually a connection, and that led to me meeting that person in real life. So like, you never know where this is going to take you, right? So now, this is something I would like for you to reflect, and not at this point because I know we only have limited time, but please reflect, take it away, and think about it yourself. What is the story? What is the story you tell yourself about yourself, right? And something that is so true, and it resonates with me a lot, is you will never outperform your self-image. And we can be spending another hour just on the topic of the power of believing in yourself. But when you show up at an event, and I know you guys had mentoring kickoff, and I'm sorry I missed that, but when you show up at an event, are you showing up with a mindset that allowed other people to see your value? Or are you showing up not the best version of yourself, right? If you're insecure about yourself, you really feel that no one is going to care about your story, or no one is going to connect with you, that's kind of them. Honestly, like the vibe, more like remember, I have three kids. I have three young kids, right? So I have to use some of the lingo too sometimes. So it's like you give that aura, of not being self-assured, not being very interested. So people might not listen to what you have to say. So please take care of your self-image, and believe in yourself, in your capabilities. If no, if you don't, it's gonna be very hard for other people to believe in you. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pause there. Yvette, do we have any questions so far before we keep going? Yeah, Daniel
Not
Santo
yet.
Mr. Question.
Please, feel free to write down
Yeah,
your
raise your
question,
hand if
or
you have a question, or like type on the chat box if you have a question
yes,
so far.
that
Okay.
yeah, that would be better. Of if they want to share any good or bad
Yeah.
experience
Okay.
while doing networking, that will help to start the conversation as well.
All
But I
right.
have
We'll give it
a
a.
quick I have a quick question for
Okay, go
you.
ahead,
So
Yvette, go ahead.
because it caught my attention when you say that the 85% of the position on LinkedIn are thanks to personal or professional connection.
Correct.
So what's the difference in your opinion? Probably it's a silly question, but probably for a newcomer that we want to, find our first job, we want that professional connection to become personal connection quickly, as fast as
Yes.
possible. So what's the difference? What will be the approach?
Well, I think personal connections are more people that you met in a social environment. Like you're gonna meet them socially. For example, you can take your kids to swimming lessons, right? And then there's people that are standing there waiting for their kids. Do not let those opportunities escape you, right? I'm always you're standing in line, you're, doing grocery shopping, and you're like connect, like I hear people speak Spanish and it's like, whoop, it's like a magnet to me, it's like catnip for a cat, it's like, whoop, someone is speaking Spanish. I want to talk to that person. I want to know what this person is from. And it's like, we have a brief conversation. Sometimes it leads to just the person feeling good about having connected, I feeling good, and we part ways. Sometimes it has happened that we met people and then the people they stay in our lives, right? Professional connections that we're going to talk about how to develop your professional network in a few minutes. So I think I'm going to pause there, Yvette, and if there's no other questions at the moment, we can carry on with the presentation.
Okay, sure.
Okay, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to kind of put it on the chat box, please.
I will. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I want you to forget everything you think you know about networking. I know. It's like Alma, you were talking about networking, but I want you to forget it. I want you to forget it. We're gonna start from scratch here. This is like networking 101. All right. The good news, and as Yvette, as we were talking about in a minute ago, you guys already have a network. And you're going to be like, Alma, I just landed like a week ago. How can I have a network? Allow me. Okay. So this is the power of who is in your network, right? You have your inner circle, and this can be friends that are actually in a different country. It doesn't matter. It's like your friends, and we're going to talk about the friends, like the friends that you have. You're going to have allies, advocates, acquaintances, and fans. Okay, so this is basically the people that are within your network. So the inner circle is your friends, the friends that are the closest to you. You can count on it in any situation. BFF 1 and 2. The people that are really there for you. They might be in a different country, doesn't matter, but right now they're your best friends. Now, you saw the concentric circles, right? So there might be friends that are like friends of a friend, right? And then they might be like, I have introduced them again. I have introduced people to some of my friends, right? And then they ended up connecting with them, and maybe opportunities come. Allies, they're going to be supporting you, advocating you. They're going to be introduced within your inner circle of friends, or like the friends of a friend. So people are going to be looking out for you. They're going to be supporting you. They're going to be advocating for you, right? Like some advocates too is like people you may or might not know. They show up for you. They come to your defense. They support your needs. And these are people, funny enough, I feel that I have personally have advocates that I might not even know who they are. It's like sometimes I run into people. It's like, oh yeah, I heard about you from so and so. It's like, I don't even know who so and so is. So I'm like, okay, but I mean, I'm glad, but I mean, I don't say that, but it's like, there might be people that they have a passing familiarity, but with you, or that you don't talk to very often, but they like what you represent, and they might be your advocates. And then the acquaintances, like they hold value, they're not your friends, but they might be loosely connected with you. And then the fans, I mean, I have some people on LinkedIn where like they're always comment on my posts. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know this person, but I guess, like it's good, like that person is raising awareness and sharing the message, or the vacancy that I posted, or etc. So 3 steps to develop your network. You're going to nurture existing relationships, because as I said, all of us have a network. We weren't born yesterday. So I guess a baby that is born yesterday, they don't have a network because they just born, right? Maybe the network of their family. But because all of us have been in this earth for a few years, I'm not going to say how many, but like at least a few years, we're going to start reaching out to people we already know. Who are these people? Your friends, your former or current classmates, your teachers, people you work with in the past. And that's the easiest ways to get started, right? You're going to connect with the people you already know. You can check in on people you care about, reaching out to them, asking them how they're doing. You can email them, you can give them a call. I know people like texting these days, but I mean, please feel free to text. And then on step 2, so you already developed these connections, right? You already developed a connection with all these inner circle and all these friends and all these people you already know. Step 2 is, I know it's a bit daunting, but you need to be open to grow new relationships, right? So meeting people is not very hard, but you need to have a plan. So like, let me share a story here. A couple of years ago, we did picnic, and one of the Facebook groups called Mexican Professionals in Toronto. You may have heard of it, and you might be even part of it. And my husband asked me, he's like, "Do we really know anyone there? There's going to be like 100 people. Do you know anyone? Do you have any friends there?" It's like, I don't have any friends, and I don't know anyone yet, right? Yet. By the end of the event, I can assure you, I'm going to get to know a lot of people. And that's basically the mindset you have to go in. The mindset is you need to expand your network, you get to know the people, connect with the people. And you know what? A couple of good friendships came out of that event, right? People that I didn't know before, but don't let that don't let not knowing anyone kind of be daunting for you. You know, I know it's easier said than done. You need to put yourself out there, but this is how you're gonna be open to grow those relationships, right? You can also think about, who do you want to meet or who do you need to meet? They're going to be your strategic connection. Let's say you want to work for Procter and Gamble here in Canada, right? So there are actually very easy ways to find on LinkedIn who works at Procter and Gamble, and you can actually knock at their door if they have a similar role than the role you would like to have, right? You can introduce yourself. Try to find a common interest or connection. For example, you find someone that works at Procter and Gamble. Maybe I should have said Apotex because my company. But just as an example, you know, you find someone, and actually, when you're looking at that person's profile, you see that both of you came from Venezuela, and you're like, oh, this is good, you know. So it's like, okay, that person actually came from Venezuela, and that person actually attended the same university. I mean, they maybe graduated before you or after you, doesn't really matter. You found that connection, you found some common ground. So you can write a message, and it's like, hola, how are you? Like, I just wanted to reach out. And I noticed that we're actually attended the same university. We're both from Venezuela. And I just wanted to reach out to see, you might have a few minutes for me, because you know I'm super interested. I saw a vacancy from where you, like, the place you work, and I would like to connect and understand the culture a little better. Is that possible? Can you connect with me for a few minutes, right? And then a connection has been formed, our new relationship has been formed, and most of the times people will be very willing to give you a few minutes if you ask nicely and actually show that you did your homework. Okay, not just out of the blue knocking at the door. It's like, I need your time. It's like, imagine if we say yes to every single person that requests time. I mean, we wouldn't have time to attend to the many other uh, challenges or opportunities that we have going on. Okay, but try to do your homework, find a connection, find some common ground, right? Any time that two people start communicating, then you have the potential of joining each other's network. So again, as we were talking about, you're in the line, you're doing something, you're doing an activity, you're going to the gym. For the people that like to go to the gym, you're going grocery shopping, you're going, anytime you communicate with someone, that might be an opportunity to join each other's network. Okay, so this is like, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, so I'm not saying, and you can go and visit my profile by all means, but that profile has taken me years to get there. Okay, so like I didn't get there in 2-3 days. It has taken me many years of cultivating my connections and and asking for recommendations and sharing events and sharing vacancies, etc., etc. So invest a few minutes, especially because you guys are potentially trying to secure a role. So you want to be noticed. You want to be out and about, right? So look for people you may know you haven't connected with yet and send them an invite. For example, like I sent some invitations to connect to organize, so people from that work in organizations where I was interested in volunteering. And basically, what I said in the invitation is, you know what, I'm very much in awe of the vision of this particular association, and my goal will be to support the new internationally trained supply chain professionals that are landing in Canada. I have a career of X number of years, and I would love to be of service. Right. So if you're okay, let's connect and see how we can benefit the community. And I can assure you, most time than not, people are very willing to connect. Okay. So, but I was actually looking for people that came from that specific association so I can connect with them and then offer my support. Right. So like you have to be specific on what you're looking for. You can find new interesting people to follow. I follow an autistic ADHDer. So she's autistic, and she also has ADHD or experiences ADHD in her life. And I have learned so much about neurodiversity just following her, and I have actually purchased a couple of her books. She has put out 2 books. She's from the UK, very young lady, very well poised, very articulate, and has really helped me to understand the challenges of the neurodiverse community. Like you can say, Alma, what has to do with supply chain? It has a lot to do with supply chain because I'm interacting with people all the time. I cannot tell you come from the neurodiverse community or neuronormative community, so I need to be more aware of that, right? So like, and that's something that the people that I follow have actually teach me. So that's one example. If I run into articles that relate to me, to my role, to my industry, I always try to like share them or so, commenting on articles. Like the last one, like the work anniversary. Sometimes I do if I actually work with the person, not on every single person I'm connected with. And then just mention your commonalities. Like if people just send me a request to connect, if sometimes I'm the one doing the homework. I go to their profile. It's like, okay, that person is actually in supply chain, and that person is actually in Toronto. It's like, okay, I see the commonality, hence accepted, right? Sometimes I don't even know why they send me the request. It's like there's a completely different industry. They're in a different country. I don't even know what they want. I'm like, you know, I might not accept it. I usually try to accept, but it's like, you didn't even give me a reason why you want to connect, right? Because I'm in supply chain, and this is like a bit of an example. This is just an example, but find professional associations you can join to network with other professionals within your field. So there's plenty of associations. I just listed 4, but honestly, I could have listed 12, right? But this is like the top professional associations that I'm part of. I'm a member of, and I attend their events from time to time. Every time I attend an event, guess what? My network continues to grow. It's like, oh, I think or actually I meet people in real life that I have actually been connected with them for many years, and it's funny. It's like, oh, you're 3D. It's like, you're 3D. It's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm real. I'm a real person, not just like a 2D image on the LinkedIn page, right? So it's very important that you locate where the people within your field congregate, and simple Google search is going to hear a lot of results, and then you can join, make an effort, join. Now, what makes networking work is that we need to set up win-win situations when all the parties involved, you and the other party, are going to take something home. Okay, a learning, like a connection, an opportunity, a reflection. So networking is a sharing process. Okay, not just the hunting and gathering. I think we got to the end of the presentation. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And we're ready for more questions. If there's any questions, we have the time. So feel free. And if it's not working, fine. If it's something else, throw it at me.
Well, I have another question. What are the common mistakes that we do as a newcomers in networking, or when we try to do the networking?
When we try to do the networking, I think we can become, because I understand, I empathize. I was a newcomer to 17 years ago. It feels like it was a long time ago, but sometimes the feelings resurface. I do understand that we're under pressure to find secure different roles or get into the workforce right away. Do not allow that pressure to permeate into your attempt of connection with someone that holds the power to potentially introduce you to other people or talk to you about your company, because sometimes it's very transactional event. Is I get a note and I'm like, I have applied for this vacancy. Can I talk to you, and can you explain to me what the culture, the company's values are? I'm like, if you have taken 2 minutes to go to the company website, you could find what the values were. You don't need me for that, right? So try to do your homework. It's like, okay, you know what, Alma, I have applied to this vacancy and I have actually, spent a lot of time on the website. What I couldn't find on your website was this particular question. Is it possible for you to tell me your perspective? I'm happy to accommodate. Actually, LinkedIn has a feature where you can record a voice message. I'm not sure you guys know this, but what kills me is like it's only 60 seconds long. So so sometimes I have to record like 2 or 3 before I get like everything out, right? But I'm happy to accommodate if I see that that person made an effort, if I see that that person made their homework, and that person wants to just kind of hone on their knowledge, but is not asking me to do all the work for them. Okay, so please, this is very, very critical. The honestly like the Canadians, because I'm Canadian now, so it's like I should include myself on the Canadians, But the Canadian culture that I belong to, people value their time. They value their time, and they value that you put an effort into it. If we see that you put an effort into it, believe me, people are very happy to support it. If we feel that you put zero effort into it and you want us to, like, say, spoon feed the information, guess what? Door closed. Door is gonna be closed. Hope that, like, that's I would say one mistake, but we can do others. But I think that's enough.
That was a good, great response. I have a question from Victoria Pareja. She said that she finds enjoyable networking. However, she finds challenging.
Good. She might be one of the few.
But, well, she finds challenging offering a win-win situation. Could you please provide examples of how can we offer help to new contact different than volunteer for their organization, for example?
Yeah, and it goes back. Remember what I was talking about, the self-image, and you can never like grow the image that you have of you. And Victoria, this like it's a very insightful question, because again, what do you think that you have that is of value, right? So what you think something that you can have of value might be information, right? Think about me, for example. I'm always very busy. I'm always out and about. I'm always running from one place to the next. Perhaps I don't have the time to be scanning the news for relevant supply chain, or not relevant. Maybe the relevant. I'm scanning the news, but maybe there's a very unique situation happening at the Port of LA that I haven't heard of. And you're like, you know what, Alma? I know you work in logistics. So I saw this article and I thought of you. So in case you haven't seen it, let me share it with you. Okay, so here you go, right? So you can actually try to see how can you be of service, right? Or just that's just as an example. Okay. And I'm glad
Now,
you find it Victoria. That's good that you find it enjoyable.
from Victor Lopez, what are some strategies for keeping a networking conversation going when we feel like we don't have anything specific to ask or share at the moment? Oh, I've
Yeah,
been
don't
in your
force it.
place,
Don't
Victor.
force it, Victor. Don't force it because then it becomes very awkward, right? And it has happened to me when, like, we're chatting about something, and it almost feels like I don't want to say like we run out of topics, but there's really nothing more at the moment that we
Mhm,
need to share. So gracefully bow out, and take your leave and move in. Actually, basically go and talk to another person. So that
mhm,
has happened in many events, and I feel like, you know what, we have something going. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to take more of your time. I know other people want to talk to you. I know you're busy, but let's stay connected, right? And why don't we connect each other on LinkedIn? And that's something that I always do, at
mhm,
the end. Is like when I'm like closing, like it's almost like not
mhm.
closing the sale, but like it's closing the conversation. And then it's like, okay, let's stay connected. And if I could, you made me think of ABC, and when I get home, let me see if I can try to find more information about this topic, and then I'll send it to you over on LinkedIn. Okay. And then you
Sure.
move on. You don't want to overstay your welcome, right?
Exactly.
Because then
Yeah.
otherwise, like they might remember you as the weird person that stayed too long.
Mhm. Maybe we should practice some like closing lines and say, oh, well, thank you for, I don't know, and I need to go to other place, or I need to, I will say hello to, acquaintance, etc. No, probably.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
have,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
um, from, let's see, I have,
Oh, that's very
from,
true,
yes.
Juan. No, Juan, that's very true. Like, you don't need to feel forced, right? So, for example, when you go to absolutely 100%, I agree with you, right? When you go to networking sessions, like you're there, that's basically what you're doing. What we're talking about is more like when you're connecting, let's say a conference or something like that. But you're going to a networking event, 100%. They know that you're there to network, so don't feel like forced to yeah, don't feel like forced to keep the conversation going when there's nothing else to share.
And from Livia, what resources like books, podcasts, etc., would you recommend for improving networking skills?
So far I haven't found any that I actually like. So if any of you want to network with me and found a very nice book or a podcast and you want to send it to me on LinkedIn, by all means, let's network by sharing something of value, because I honestly haven't found something that I'm like, yes, this is like the 100 icebreakers to make it you an effective networker.
Mhm,
I haven't found that. It for me has been more like, to be honest, like a trial and error. Is like, okay, I try a few things. Sometimes it's like, it lands well. Sometimes it doesn't land as well as I hope. So I keep trying to find more like be present, be in the moment, and focus your attention to that person 100%. Don't be like on your phone, or it's like try multitask. You're like talking to three people at once, and then you're not focusing on it. I found that the best opportunities to connect is when you are actually on a one-on-one. Like you're approaching someone, and I do that a lot. I see someone that is just kind of standing there at an event, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel compelled to connect as a human, right? I connect with that person, and so I approach them and say, "Oh, good afternoon. Is this the first time you're?" And this is a good one too. You can use it. Is this the first time you attend a conference like this or an event like this? And that person is like, "No, no, actually, I've been here twice already. Oh, this is my first time actually." It's like, okay, how was the other two times? How did you find it versus this time? It's like, oh, actually, they have improved a lot because now they have these other sessions, and I'm actually a speaker on a session tomorrow. It's like, oh, but what are you? You can go on and on. But it's just that person was just standing there, standing there. So perfect opportunity for you to be bold and knock at their door. Okay.
and I have a a question coming from Marina, and she said that she have had some contacts in networking and been able to establish a conversation, but when she contact them through the networks, they no longer respond. I think through LinkedIn. Because I have only seen it at the time of the face-to-face meeting. So if I understand correctly, is what happened after you make the connection
Make
and
the
then there is
face-to-face
no
connection,
longer
and then you're
response.
kind of looking for that person, and that person is not responding. I
Mhm.
mean, to be fair, I have made a connection on Friday, and by Monday morning, I have a message of that from the person asking me to do something for them. Remember what we talk about relationships? Relationships take time. It's like developing a friendship. It's gonna take time. It might sometimes I'm 100% agreeing with, I think it was Juan, who said let everyone respond for different reasons. 100%. Sometimes I like, honestly, I might miss a message. And until that person follows up with me, it's like maybe a couple of weeks later, it's like, oh man, sorry to bother you, but it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I saw it come in. I was in the middle of something. I forgot to respond. Thank you for reaching out again. So we shouldn't read too much into the people's like intentions or lack of response, because we're all busy. Like we know this is it. This is a very busy times for all of us, right? So like, just I would say try again. But if that person doesn't respond again after 2 3 weeks, I mean, I agree with Juan. Just kind of move to the next person.
And
And
I have
I
some.
read that book, Monica. I read that book, Never Eat Alone. Thank you
I
for
was right.
reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. It was actually very good. It was very good. I remember that. I mean, like I read it like honestly maybe 10 years ago. But it kind
Never
of gave
eat
me a deja
alone.
vu. I think gave me a deja vu, but it's good. It's good.
And Lisette, she asked how she can prepare before attending a networking event. What kind of techniques she can use it to stay in touch with their new connections? How can I evaluate if a connection is worth
That's
it
like three
in the long
questions
run?
in one. So okay, so let me take I'm gonna take it in chunks, in pieces, right? Because it's like that's very insightful. Thank you for breaking it into like the multiple elements here, right? Okay, so I'll start from the beginning. So Lisette, how can you prepare before attending a networking event? You don't, you don't prepare, because what you want is like a networking event, is basically all of the people are there to network, right? So if they're there to network, it's very hard for you to prepare and get like some people, some companies or some associations don't release the name of the people that are going to be attending the event. So there's no chance for you to prepare. You're not going to be like trying to search 20 30 different companies. Even you had the time, that's a lot of effort. Just go in, be yourself, be nice, be kind, and really be interested on what other people have to say. And actually I just remember the best book of networking that I have ever read, and I read it the reason didn't come to mind is maybe I read it 20 years ago. How to Win Friends and Influence People. An old one, but a good one. Okay, from Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the reason it kind of sparked my memory is because one of the sections says that you need to be interested on what the other person has to say. And if you're really showing your interest in the other person, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be an amazing listener, and you're going to make an amazing impression. Okay, so like try to find that, like please do read that book, because it's actually like maybe it's like a before and after. It has been a before and after for me. Okay, and then the
And
other, I think there was another question.
from Victoria is a comment and recommendation, and or her experience when she came to Canada 24 years ago. She joined the job finding club, and every day we had to spend 1 hour making cold calls and 30 minutes networking with people we already knew.
Oh wow.
And she said that
Okay.
YouTube has a lot of videos on these topics. Interesting. I
That's very
heard
interesting. That's a lot of commitment, more commitment than what I have, to be honest.
exactly.
Also, but sorry, like I think Lisa had another comment of how can this is a good one. How can I evaluate if what is it, if a connection is worth
Worth
keeping
it?
or
Yeah,
yeah.
it's part of it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. This is my thought on the topic. Okay, every single connection is valuable. For me, maybe I'm open to connect with anyone and everyone that can add value to my life. And again, I give you an example of someone that is an ADHDer, that you could be like, okay, Alma, how is that person adding value to my life? It's adding value to my life because it's open a whole world for me that I didn't know before. So it's very hard to it's like we're not going to be scanning people and saying, okay, this person is going to have long-term value, this person is not going to have long-term value. It's impossible to determine in a 5-minute conversation. Okay, so I will say be open to connect with people from all walks of life. All walks of life, they're going to leave something, potentially they have the potential to leave something valuable in your life. Okay.
And I found this interesting from Victor Lopez. He said that he has a Canadian friend who mentioned it that people here, I think Canadians, tend to prefer more direct requests when networking. Could you share some
Direct
insights
request, like
about this?
what? What do you mean with direct request? I don't want I don't want to misinterpret direct requests. What do you
What do
mean?
you mean, Victor, with
Yeah,
direct
Yeah,
Victor,
requests?
unmute
I mean,
yourself and tell us.
Yes.
yes, about if you need something specific, for example, for a referral to a job position, it's better to ask directly.
Mm, only if you know the person. Only if you have a relationship with the person, I will say that's perfectly fine. So, for example, I support the Masters in Supply Chain Management program at Schulich. I have a long-standing relationship with that particular program. I don't have a relationship necessarily with the executive team because every year they rotate. So there are new executive teams, but I'm attached to the program, not the executive team. So when the executive team comes to me, it's like, oh no, we want to invite you to this, panel or so on. They can make a direct request to me because they know I have supported the program. I'm a program supporter. I love to support students. So I'm perfectly fine. But if someone like from the street is telling me, Alma, this is what I need from you, is like, and who are you and why do I need to do what you're asking? Right? So it's so, Victor, about relationships. If you have the relationship, by all means ask. And if you already have a relationship with that person, don't hold back. Ask, be very direct on what you need them to do. 100%. I agree with that. But it's about the relationship. You need to qualify the relationship first.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, let
Thank you
me.
all. Thank you for your questions. Very insightful. It was and you know what? Maybe just to close to say, networking takes practice. And practice makes maybe not perfect, but pretty good. So again, enjoy it. Don't be afraid. Go in, be yourselves. You're enough. You're worth it. You're valuable, and you need to trust that you're going all your values and all the your beliefs and your belief system is going to shine through. Your personality is going to shine through. Okay, so don't hesitate, don't shy away, put yourself out there. It's worth it.
Thank you, Alma. Those are very valuable recommendations. And a lot of thank you notes in the chat. A pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for attending tonight's session.